The BC courts have released another bombshell Indigenous rights decision and is causing a major stir in provincial political circles. The case centers around a landmark 2019 BC law, the Declaration on the Rights of Indigenous Peoples Act, commonly referred to as DRIPA. But what is this and what are the implications here? In a nutshell, DRIPA, also referred to as the Declaration Act, is a law introduced by the John Horgan NDP government in 2019 that says BC must work to align all laws with the United Nations Declaration on the Rights of Indigenous Peoples, which is often called UNDRIP. The Horgan's government added to this law in 2021 with the Interpretation Amendment Act, which says all acts and regulations must be consistent with the UN Declaration. Since then, the BC government worked on the assumption that it could itself go about the business of creating laws and making sure those align with the UN Declaration. But on December 5th, the BC Court of Appeals, in a split decision, decided that a current law governing mineral tenures is invalid because it doesn't meet this standard. This suddenly opened up the possibility that courts can retroactively look at all aspects of BC law and decide on whether or not they are in line with the UN Declaration. Premier David Eby says that this was not the intention of the law in the first place. He wants to amend the DRIPA legislation to make this clear. Here's Eby giving his thoughts on the path ahead.
Last week's Court of Appeal decision invites further and endless litigation. It is the exact opposite of the direction we need to go. Less certainty, not more. More conflict, not less. The decision looked at the clear statements of intent in the legislature and the law, and yet reached dramatically different conclusions about what legislators did when we voted unanimously across party lines for the Declaration Act. That's why Attorney General Sharma is leading work to amend the Interpretation Act and the Declaration Act to ensure they reflect government's original intent.
BC Conservative leader Trevor Halford says this does not go far enough. He wants to repeal DRIPA altogether and wants to recall the legislature before its expected February return to do so. Here's Halford talking in Victoria.
I believe that we need to repeal DRIPA full stop. The Premier, if he's got other indications, he should make that public and clearly illustrate what that is. But I know for a fact that that work needs to be done in this House. It needs to be legislatively done. And so what are we waiting for?
This situation has, if nothing else, injected more uncertainty in BC, adding to fears over private property rights in the wake of the Cowichan Tribe's decision. Eby is now attacking the courts for these decisions. Here he is at a speech before the BC Chamber of Commerce.
In this economic context that all of us are aware of, with unprecedented levels of cooperation between First Nations and the provincial government, to face such dramatic, overreaching, and unhelpful court decisions, as we have seen over the last couple of months, is deeply troubling.
Keep up with the latest at todayinbc.com. I'm Mark Page, BC Legislative Correspondent for Black Press Media.